So I heard a rumor that you like pizza. I like pizza. I'm going to show you how to make pizza. It's really, really easy. All you have to do is follow the recipe. Let me show you how you do it. You start off with 2 1/4 cups of flour. All-purpose flour is what I use. Use what you like. I don't judge. You have a scant 1 teaspoon of salt. I like to use kosher salt. Sea salt works. Doesn't matter. 3/4 of a teaspoon of yeast. Active dry yeast works fine. I've used also bread machine yeast. I've heard of people using brewer's yeast. Use what works. Use a paddle. We don't use a hook on this recipe. Spend a couple of seconds and mix it all together. Get all the dry ingredients stirred up. Alright, once you got all of the dry ingredients mixed up, we're going to put in 1 cup of water. Tap water, room temperature, doesn't have to be hot, whichever works for you. We add that in and we mix it on low for 30 seconds. Alright, once it's been mixed for 30 seconds, I turn it off. I like to get the stuff off of the paddle. It works if you don't, but it works just as well either way. We close it down, make sure you lock it. We then take 1 tablespoon of olive oil and we mix it in. We pour it in. We mix it on medium-high for 1 minute. Okay, so once it's mixed for 1 minute, we turn it off. Again, I like to clean off the paddle. Try to make sure you get a spatula that the end doesn't come off so easily. Once you have the spatula cleaned off, let the dough sit for 5 minutes to hydrate. That will allow the yeast to fully hydrate. That will allow the flour especially to hydrate. And we'll be back in 5 minutes and I'll show you an alternative to kneading the dough. Alright, so once that's hydrated for 5 minutes, we're going to do a method that's called stretch and fold. It's an alternative to kneading the dough. The main problem that I have is when I'm trying to knead the dough, my arms kind of wear out. This will give you an opportunity to do it, to give you a really, really good texture on your dough without having any actual, physical discrepancies or physical maladies happen to you. Also, you want to wear gloves for this. Otherwise, you'll end up with really sticky fingers. So we'll put that on there like that. As you can see, the dough looks like it's a little bit sticky. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's actually going to give you a really, really good cover. What you want to do is you want to put oil on your fingers. You stretch the dough out like this. going to fold it over, fold it over. Feel free to put more oil down if you need to. Fold the dough over. It got into a dry spot. Fold it over. The main thing you want to do is turn it over this way. Get as much of the dough on there as you can. Grab yourself a bowl. Set it over the dough. Let it rest for 5 more minutes. And we'll be back for the second stage. Alright. So it's been 5 minutes. We're going to take the lid off. Take the bowl off, I should say. Now, feel free to add more olive oil as needed. And also feel free to make sure that you get a lot of olive oil on your fingers while you do this. One of the things you're going to notice is it does get a little bit stiffer as you go. So if you have a really fine, really thin, sticky dough like I had at the beginning of this, it's actually going to make a better dough. It's going to make a much better crust on your pizza. Okay, and again, fold it in thirds this way, fold it in thirds this way, put it fold side down, cover it with the bowl, and let it sit for 5 minutes, and we'll be back. Alright, so it's been another 5 minutes. This is now going to be the third folding. And we're going to do this 4 times. What this will do is this will give some body and some stiffness to the dough, make it so that it's more pliable, not just going to flop around. Give more body, more stiffness to it, as I said. So we'll fold it, and yeah, you only need to stretch it out a little bit. You don't really need to go that far. I always try to make sure that the area under it is covered with oil by sweeping some in with my fingers, with my hand. Put it there, roll that down. One more time, and we'll be back in 5 more minutes. Have fun. Okay, so after a few technical difficulties, battery running flat, memory chip failing, weird stuff. Anyway, we're going to do this final fold. This is the 4th time. You only fold it 4 times. And then what I'm going to do, we're going to take the bowl and spray it with oil. You can either coat it with olive oil or use a spray like I am. I think this is Pam, doesn't matter. Then take the dough, drop it down inside, fold it side down. And what that's going to do, we will now take this and cover it with cling wrap or saran wrap, whatever you want to call it. Try not to use the press and seal, it doesn't seem to work as well. We use the cling wrap and we will cover this, and what that will do is that will help keep the taste from last night's fish dinner out of your pizza dough, which in my mind is a good thing. And we'll put it in the refrigerator and let it cold proof overnight. It'll rise a little bit. Most of the rising is going to happen tomorrow when it's in the pan and left to warm up and rise. What this will do is this will allow the glutens and the air bubbles and the long chains to develop properly in the dough. So tomorrow I'll show you how to pan it. I'll show you how to cook it. And at the end of this video tomorrow, we'll have some delicious pizza. So until then, thank you. Okay, so it's the next day, and I use these jelly roll pans to make the pizza in. I've coated it with olive oil. You take your pizza dough, which we put in the fridge last night, if you remember, and make sure your hands are washed real well. Roll it out onto just pour it out onto the pan. And then you're going to do what's called dimpling. And basically, it's just just sticking your fingers into the dough, and that will stretch it out eventually into the pan. Now you'll do this about every 15 minutes. What that will do is that will allow it to relax a little bit, and then when you dimple it again, you see it gets a little bit bigger, and then it'll relax again, and eventually it'll fill up the whole pan. And it's at that point you just let it rise until it's time to build the pizza and cook it. So that's about all for now. I'll be back when it's time to actually cook this stuff. So hang on, and we'll see you then. And here we are. As you can see, it's spread out real nice, and it's risen quite a bit now. It's been probably 4 hours since I pulled it out of the fridge. I'm going to build a pizza now. This is a homemade marinara sauce that I use. I will be probably doing a video on this in the fairly near future on how to make this. Because let's face it, if you have a good recipe for marinara, then you're going to have a really, really good pizza when you're done. Okay, I'm going to spread this around nice and evenly. And I don't know where I picked up this recipe for this marinara. I think it was a couple of different recipes that I kind of combined together, but if you do a quick internet search, you can find all kinds of recipes for marinara. All right. I generally like to place Colby Jack on the bottom, but today we're using Cheddar Jack. I like to give it a nice thick layer of that cheesy goodness on the bottom of the thing. Try to break up any clumps that are there if you have any. You don't have to put as much cheese on as I do, but I like to murder my pizza with cheese. I get it out closer to the edges here too. Okay. Pepperoni. Again, I like to put lots of toppings on my pizza. I may have been a little ambitious with this. But that's okay. I'll just take the extra one off there and hide the evidence later. Okay? And at this point, I like to give it a dusting of mozzarella cheese. If I can get the bag open. Probably should have opened these first, that way I don't feel quite so fumbly trying to do it. Nice thing about putting the cheese on top of it like this is it will help hold everything together. And of course it's more cheese. But you can never go wrong with more cheese. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to bake this in the oven at 500 degrees for 15 minutes, and you want to turn it halfway through. If you have an oven that has a quick bake or convection, like mine does, then you put it at 475. And again, I put it in for 7 minutes, then I turn it around after 7 minutes and cook it for another 8. And then it's done. It's really that simple. So hang on a few minutes here. In about 20 minutes or so, this will come out of the oven. The oven's still heating up. It'll come out of the oven in about 20 minutes, and I'll show you what it looks like. So see you soon. Okay, and as you can see, the pizza is done. It's out of the oven. Pick it up here and show you. Nice and crunchy on the bottom, nice and crispy. It's hot. The cheese is all melted, and again, you can tell it's a pretty good thick crust too. So that's all there is to it. Making pizza is not very difficult. It's kind of a process, but I feel it's well worth it. So hope you enjoy this. Hope you enjoy this video. Give me a like and subscribe if you want. I have another video out there about bacon. Check it out. And like I said, soon I'll be putting out a video about making the marinara sauce. So hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.